This is it. This is my book / not book. I've had numerous people over the years say you should write a book just based on my life story, and it's extremely fascinating. I can say that too. I agree, it's fascinating. I just never have made the time to do it, and I got in a conversation with someone today during a reading, and she suggested it again, and I told her that I had this idea that I would just dictate my story and then share it on YouTube. I've had a YouTube channel for, I don't know, a couple of years, maybe not even that long, but I haven't used it until recently. So yeah, I'm going with it. I have had this crazy journey, crazy, raw, terrible, tragic, scary, but beautiful journey. And the amount of information I've learned, I think it does need to be shared. I think we have a responsibility to do that for each other. And so here goes. So for those that don't know me, my name is Stacy Hilton, no relation to the Hilton Empire, or I wouldn't be doing this on YouTube. I'd probably have somebody I probably wouldn't be doing it. So Paris isn't my sister, but Angel is. Well, Angela is her real name. My mom passed away on January 13th of 2019. My biological father passed away January 10th of 2007, was it? And my dad, I call Dad, who raised me, is still living. He's dealing with lung cancer, but he's still living. I have a partner, and I have a niece and a nephew, and very little family left, my sister and brother-in-law. And the baby, I have to mention him, my nephew's baby. But I don't have a large family. Most of them are deceased. I grew up, or I shouldn't say grew up. I was born in Biloxi, Mississippi in 1971. And we were only there for a few years. My mom married her high school sweetheart, was absolutely head over heels in love for him, David. He cheated on her. I'm just being honest. That's my whole goal with this, is just to be honest. If anybody doesn't like what I say, then sorry. The truth is what heals us. So, but he cheated on her. I don't think that's a secret though, because it was a few times, and she ended up leaving him. And I don't even think she wanted to leave him. I think she wanted my sister and I to not be subjected to that, just she wanted us to have good lives, but she ended up leaving him. And lo and behold, and this is the story we were told. So David, my biological father, had a brother who was living in Tokyo. He was in the Navy, and he happened to come on leave to Biloxi, and he got to meet his nieces, which was me and my sister. Well, it didn't take long for Russ to fall in love, head over heels in love for my mom. Yeah. My mom. So, yes, I'll say that again. My biological father, his brother, fell in love with my mom. And Russ went to David and said, look, I'm in love with her. If you have a problem with it, let's just take it outside and hash it out right now. And, David was actually okay with it. He said, if, somebody's going to be around my girls, I'd rather it be my own brother. So Russ left Biloxi on leave, and he begged my mom to go with him, and she refused. She ended up talking to my Aunt Eula, which is my grandmother's sister. And Aunt Eula said, you need to get those girls and get in that car and go. Well, when Russ got to, let's not call him Russ, Dad, because he's my dad. When Dad got to Texas, he stopped, because, back then they didn't have cell phones, but he stopped and called Mom just to check on her, and she told him that she changed her mind. And he had a little sports car. He drove straight to a car dealership. He got a car that all four of us could fit in. He drove back to Biloxi, picked us up, and drove all the way to California. He was stationed at that time in San Diego. And that he drove all the way across the country with us, right? But let me go back to something, my first experience with him. So when we all spent time together, now, mind you, I was 3, so I don't remember this. Dad took Mom and Angel and I to a parade in Biloxi. And during the parade, Dad had me on his shoulders. He's 6'6", so I was pretty far up there. But he had me on his shoulders, and everybody still laughs about it. That was like their first date, and I peed all over him. Christening is what I call it. But he was all in, and he told my mom, he said, I love you, I'm in love with you, I will treat these girls like they're mine. And like I said, he went back and got her, and we ended up moving to California. Now, what I remember about California was, first, let me just mention what I remember. This is wild. You know how, I'm 53 years old. Am I 53 or 54? No, hell, I'm 53. But you know how we remember certain things that stick out in our mind in childhood, and there's a lot of memory. There's a lot of things I don't remember at all. My memory, I lost a lot of memory, I should say. There's a lot of memory loss, and I think that came from what's called soul fragmentation. Soul fragmentation is when you go through something so traumatic that it's like your soul can't process it, so a little piece of your soul runs off to protect you. That's the easiest way to explain it. And I've been through so much stuff, I'm surprised I have a soul left. But anyway, that can cause memory loss. So, but back to the things that stick out with me. I remember Miss Barb and Mr. Nick. That was their best friends. They lived in a house in San Diego area, and they decided to move into a house up in the hills. Mom and Dad moved into their old house, and it was haunted as shit. Sorry. If I cuss, y'all embrace it, because I think cuss words are awesome. Oh, not to be used in a harmful way, though. Never in a harmful way. They just make me laugh, really. But anyway, it was haunted as shit, right? So we move in, and all I remember was, I remember a lot about that house. I remember seeing apparitions. I always had a man standing in my doorway. I could literally see the apparition of him. We all heard what sounded like these clomp, clomp, like these loud, like if somebody had heavy boots on and they're marching up and down the hall. I don't know what the hell he was doing, but he spent a lot of time in that hallway. And I think one night, maybe he just realized I could see him, and so he would stop and put his arm up and lean on the door frame, and he pretty much took up the whole area of the door. So I was terrified. When I tell you I was terrified, I'm talking about violently shaking in my bed. And I would scream. Dad would come in, and he's like looking through the room, looking everywhere, looking in my closet, and he was like, everything's okay, you can go back to sleep, there's nothing there. And what that did for me was made me, what did it do? It made me, I don't want to say maybe think I was crazy, because at that age you don't think you're crazy, but it made me confused. So he goes back to bed, he's fine, and I'm left shivering in my bed. Now, don't take that as me bashing my parents, because they did the best they could. They didn't know what to do with me. It wasn't until 2016 that Dad and I had a long conversation, and he literally said that, we didn't know what to do with you. He even told me they played a Ouija board a couple of times. I'm like, you probably made it worse, thanks, But he didn't know what to do, so his way, when he would say there's nothing there, it wasn't trying to minimize my experience. He just didn't know. They were doing the best they could. Today, I highly advise people, if you have children that have ghost experiences or spirit experiences, don't ever tell them nothing's there. Just let them talk about their experiences, calm them down, give them some a spray bottle, ghost spray, monster spray, whatever you want to call it. And if they have something in their room, tell them spray this and it'll make whatever it is go away. And what that does is it empowers the child. That's just, how do I know that? From experience, right? All right, so let's go back. The house we lived in was haunted. And then, truth be told, every house was haunted. Mom's joke for years was, Stacy, it wasn't the house, it was you. But the house, actually, that house, Miss Barb and Mr. Nick had experiences in the house too, so it was truly haunted. So what I would do is I would lay in bed and I like I said, I would violently shake until I finally got the courage to run through the apparition. I was trying to get to my sister's bedroom, who really didn't want me in her bed, but I didn't tolerate a no. I was that terrified. She was actually okay with it. Sort of. I think they got her a bigger bed so we could lay comfortably, right? But I spent many a night with my sister because I just felt comfort with her. I felt safe. And so there were different things that happened to me in the home. I had an imaginary friend that I don't even remember. My mom talked about it for years. She said, when we moved from California to Texas, she said, you wouldn't even get in the car until we packed your imaginary friend's personal belongings. She's like, how do you pack nothing? But I had an imaginary friend. I did a lot of sleepwalking. And my parents would entertain their friends some nights, and I would just show up in the middle of the living room sleepwalking, and then I'd go in the kitchen and I'd get an apple and I'd crawl up on the dryer and I'd eat my apple on the dryer. It was just weird behavior. My mom said she would wake up in the middle of the night and find me with my lights on, playing with Barbies on the floor, talking, having a full-blown conversation, and she said it was eerie. You know, I don't remember all of those things, obviously, because I was sleepwalking. I do remember some events happening, like the window that was behind my bed I would see very, like a very bright light coming through that window. Now, the street ran parallel to the house, so there's no way that I would see this big light. There wasn't a driveway there, there wasn't even a driveway across the street that would line up, that would make that light come through my window, but I saw it a lot. And it was, I felt like it was for me, like somebody was coming to get me. My sister also, she's not skeptical, she's very intuitive, but she has this ability to just shut things off. Well, I'd say, if Angel ever hears this, she knows what I'm talking about. She thinks she can shut it off, but she's much better at it than I am. But she's very, very intuitive. She's just got a fear about it. She's like, I don't want anything to do with it because it scared her. But I talked to her not long ago, and I asked her what her memory is today of that house, and she talked about that window and the light. And so we're on board with that. We both experienced that. One day I was playing, I know it was a Saturday. My mom worked for the Coca-Cola company. She was at work. Angel was down the street playing with friends, and Dad was outside working on his step van. He had a step van he was redoing. I was sitting on my floor playing, and the closet doors in my bedroom were the kind that would slide. And you know how there's a little round circle. It's the little cup where you put your fingers, to grip it to open the door. Well, the little thing had popped out. So basically what I'm saying is there was a little hole in the door, and I could see into my closet. So I could see the clothes that were hanging. And I started noticing something out of the corner of my eye. And I thought, is this door opening by itself? And so I noticed there was a plaid sleeve of a shirt that I could see. And a couple of minutes later, I looked up, and that's not what I saw. It was another piece of clothing. And then I just stared, and I realized my closet door's opening by itself. I freaked out, screaming. Dad comes running in thinking I'm being murdered. And, again, what do you do? What do you do other than just soothe the person, right? As a parent, he was like, Stacey, just come out here and hang out with me. Well, I didn't want to do that. It was hot as hell. And so it was scary. And I also remember one night laying in bed, and we had a cat named Tigger. This was right before I was actually told I was highly allergic to cats. I mean, I was a sick child. I had asthma and I had severe rashes all over my body, and I would get these boils on my body. It was terrible. But we had this cat named Tigger. Tigger usually slept on the bar stool in the kitchen. Not in the kitchen, in the dining area. Isn't that nice? You got the cat in the dining area. But anyway, that's where Tigger hung out. Well, one night I got in bed and I felt under my covers at the bottom of the bed. I was like, Tigger's in my bed. And so I didn't mind. I rubbed Tigger with my foot, just kind of like petting the cat with my foot. About the fifth stroke, there's nothing. It's gone. And like I physically felt it, and then there's nothing. And then, of course, your mind's like it's like your mind's trying to process what happened, knowing damn good and well I just rubbed a cat with my foot. That's not just a common thing. Your sheets don't feel like cat. There's no pillow down there. There's nothing that has substance like a cat. But yeah, it disappeared. So I actually got up and went into the dining room, and Tigger was sound asleep. And then, of course, I'm terrified. I mean, these are things that happened on a regular basis that I just didn't know what to do with it, and my parents didn't know how to soothe it. I mean, it's not a common problem, I remember also being in, I think it was around first grade. I was in school, and I don't know, for the ones that are around my age, maybe a little younger, I don't know if y'all remember the scratch and sniff stickers. So it would be like a little, about the size of a quarter, maybe a tiny bit bigger, and it would have a picture of like grapes or a picture of banana on the sticker. And you scratch it, it smells like whatever the picture is. Well, whenever I was in school, and this was right at the beginning of school, for some reason I remember that. Maybe because the girl didn't know me, but there was this girl sitting next to me, and she had a folder sitting on the desk that had a grape scratch and sniff sticker. Now, all the things that I can't remember, but I specifically remember this grape scratch and sniff sticker because I reached over and I said, "Oh, can I scratch that?" She said, "Yeah," very sweetly too. And I sniffed it and I said, "Oh my goodness, I love the curtains and the colors in your bedroom." Well, that's not a normal response to a sticker, right? But what was happening, and I still have this ability, is what's called a psychometry. So psychometry is when you can hold an object or an item and you read the energy off of it. Well, I was in first grade. I didn't understand that other kids couldn't see my bedroom if they scratched my sticker. I didn't understand any of that. I was just me, right? So, I always say 10 years from now, you won't remember what somebody said to you, but you will remember how they made you feel. And I don't remember her exact words, but I know how I felt. And I felt like I wanted to crawl under a rock and never come out. I was embarrassed. I felt humiliated because she looked at me and then whispered to somebody else, and they're trying to make sense of it. It's not a normal thing. I don't know that. But I was really embarrassed, and I was a really, really shy child. So that was tough. That was really tough on me because, all kids just want to be liked. And there was like first or second day of school, and now I'm an outcast because I'm looking at her bedroom from a sticker and nobody knows how to explain it. I was very introverted, and I became more introverted. I was a very good student. I got student of the month all the time, and I didn't want it all the time because I thought it drew attention to me. And so when the teacher would say, "Stacey, you get student of the month," I was embarrassed because it's bringing attention to me, and I didn't want any more on me because of all of these incidents that were happening. When you're a child and you have like psychic abilities, first off, you don't know you're different. we all assume we're all the same. And the other is you don't know how to explain it. You don't know how to explain how you feel. Feelings are much deeper than words. So I would just hold all of this within me and try and process, I guess, the best I could without having full understanding of what was going on. So it was challenging. The things that happened, the apparitions that I would see, and let me say it this way. As a child, well, I guess as an adult too, because it happened to me in adulthood, when you see an apparition that's not a true human body, normally you can tell because they're kind of floating. You don't normally see feet. But as a child, I wasn't looking for feet, right? You're not usually looking down. I was looking at the person, and there were times that I would comment on a child or comment on a person, and whoever was around me couldn't see what I was commenting about. This actually happened to me. It happens to me more than I realize. It happened to me a few years ago. I was commenting to a friend of mine something about it was cold outside, and I'm like, how can this lady... I saw this lady briskly walk, and she had this long, trench coat on, and there was, a 5-6-year-old little boy with his arms crossed, it looked like he was cold, and he was walking about 5-6 feet behind her. But I remember saying, why is it she's got this long coat on, but she doesn't even have a coat on, that poor baby? And my friend said, what kid? I don't see a kid. And I'm like, dang, he looked like a kid. And I often wonder, how often does that happen to me? That I'm actually seeing an apparition, but it's not. Who knows? I'll probably never know. It happens a good bit. But, my mom gave me my sister and I each a plastic bin. She just had a plastic bin, and she had gone through a bunch of stuff in her attic, and she pulled out all kinds of stuff from our childhood and gave it to us. I think it was the Easter before she died. And whenever I was in first, second, and third grade, we would write little stories. And what the teacher would do is she would take the stories, she'd type them up, and she would put them in little, it's like construction paper, she'd put them in this booklet, staple them, and send them home to the parents. So it would be the whole classroom had their stories, it was probably a 3x5 stapled together construction paper, colored construction paper. And the kids would write little 2-3 sentence stories about, I went outside and there were butterflies flying everywhere and I played with my brother, that kind of thing. Well, all of my stories were about ghosts and being scared. And I'm laughing because when Mom pulled the book out and she just looked at me and she said, just wait till you look through it. And we're looking through, and I read through 6 or 7, 8 stories, and they're all butterflies, and and then it gets to my story, and it says something about I went into this empty house and it was haunted and I got scared and I ran home, that kind of thing. But basically what I'm saying is all of my stories were haunted stories. And I did not watch scary movies or anything like that growing up at all. I still don't. But that goes to show you that, I guess I've lost sight over the fact of how long this has been going on. It's been going on my whole life. Yeah, it has not been easy. I'm going to cut this off and I'm going to record on another recording. I don't want to make them too long. Hey, thanks for joining me, for those that are listening.